Hey everyone, Robert Ferringo and Raphael Esparza back with you to bring you the final What Are the Odds for 2024. Happy New Year's Eve to everyone out there. If you're watching this tomorrow, welcome to 2025. Let's get it started with some winners, Raphael. What do you say? You have a New Year's resolution for 2025?
The same thing I've had for the past 15 years. Wake up. I tell people when you wake up, it's a good day. Doesn't matter what kind of day you had yesterday, it's a brand new day today.
Yeah, some people hate New Year's. I love New Year's. This is one of my favorite holidays. I love marking the passing of time, turning the page. There's just everything I love about it. I think my New Year's resolution for 2025 is actually to be less tolerant. I think I need to be less tolerant of other people's stupidity. So I feel like I have been too tolerant. I feel like I need to be less tolerant of that. And so that's what I'm really going to try and do for 2025. So, all right, let's get 2025 started with some winners. We're just going to focus on the college football playoffs and then a few NFL games. We're going to start with the Peach Bowl with Texas once again as a double-digit favorite against Arizona State. Now, they did win and cover against Clemson in their opening round playoff game, but anybody that watched that game knows that it wasn't as easy as maybe the final score looked like. Texas kind of let Clemson hang around a little bit in that game. They also won't have the benefit of their home field advantage, which we saw pay massive dividends for those teams last week. Now we're moving to neutral sites. Raphael, when this number came out is at double digits again, what were your initial thoughts?
My original thoughts were it's his brand versus name. Brand got the double digits, the burnt orange, the Matthew McConaughey on the sideline, the two quarterbacks that can probably start for any team in the college football versus Arizona State, a team that was picked to be dead last in their conference. She probably shouldn't even be here in people's eyes. I think that's why there's a double-digit favorite. Now, out of the four college football games, Ferringo, what game you think has the most betting action out of the four?
Honestly, I would have guessed Ohio State, Oregon.
That's what I would have guessed.
My number two would probably be Notre Dame, Georgia.
It is this game we're talking about right now. It's the Arizona State, Texas game. I mean, it first came out all Texas action. That's where I thought we were going to see a 14 at one point. Now dog money's coming in. Arizona State money's coming in. I think we'll probably see the number probably close like around 12. I don't think we'll see 11s anymore. I think we're going to see a defensive battle game on this one. I love Arizona State's defense. We all want to talk about their offense, but I think their defense is what keeps them good. Texas defense will probably keep them in check as well. Both teams are going to probably want to establish the run early. I think if there's any low-scoring snooze fest, I think this one could be it.
Okay, so another one of the themes that we saw in the first round of the playoffs, I'm big on themes when it comes to developing betting patterns, right? One of the themes we saw are the teams that maybe weren't the name brands, the team that people argued about, should this team be here, the Indianas, the SMUs, the Clemsons, they all got laid to waste last week. Here we have another team, Arizona State. Now, they have had an undeniably great season. They are a very good team. But is this just going to be another instance where things are going to play out the way that college football has always played out, right? You have those 4 or 5 teams at the top that are just bigger, stronger, and better than anyone. They're just physically better than their opponents, and they're just going to lay waste to Arizona State? Or do you think that Arizona State, from a talent, ability, and physicality perspective, do they have enough players to stay competitive with Texas?
I don't think Arizona State's going to win this game. I'll say that right there. I think Texas will end up winning this game. Now, will they cover? I don't think so, because Texas sometimes plays below what their opponent is. I mean, yeah, they could start out strong, but I think what Arizona State, they're playing with free money. It's just like Boise State. They're all coming in these games feeling disrespected, double-digit dogs. No one loves us. No one takes us. And I think one of these two teams are going to be nail-biters. I don't think we're going to see that big of blowouts like we saw in round one. Because don't forget, these are neutral site games. This is not at Texas. This is not at Penn State, or Notre Dame doesn't have a home game. Well, I think Georgia has a home game, because I think me and you both agree Georgia travels well. It's an easy car ride to New Orleans, not a flight. So I think that's going to be mostly red. But this is a neutral site game. I think that's why people, I think, are going to lean towards some dog money, just because this is not a home game. This is both neutral site games, and Arizona State had some rest off.
All right, Arizona State 5-0 straight up this year in games decided by 7 points or less. 6-1 this year in games decided by one score. They played a lot of close games. They've won a lot of close games. Do you think that will work to their advantage in this game? Or do you think that that's more a sign of, look, Arizona State, they kind of got a little lucky. They won a bunch of close games, and they're about to get wiped out?
I think the first part, but this is what I was telling this to another show I did today. This game, and I know just in case the Boise State game is over if you're not watching it late, keep an eye out for live betting because I think the computer/odds makers are going to do totally different because of double digits. So let's say Texas goes up and puts up a field goal, 3-0. They're going to do the live betting number like it's 7-0 because it's the almighty brand Texas against Arizona State. So they're going to be prepared for that almighty Texas money coming in. So you could probably, if it's 3-0, you would probably move the live number to maybe 10, maybe 10.5. But I can guarantee you to probably put up a 14 or even higher, knowing that it's Texas money coming in. You could probably get a live better number if it's a close game early.
All right, moving on to the Sugar Bowl, we have Notre Dame as a 1-point underdog here against Georgia. We know Carson Beck is out, Gunnar Stockton in for Georgia. We know how dominating Georgia has been in recent years. They weren't very good this year, though. They're 3-7 against the spread in their last 10 games. They just haven't looked good. Like anyone that watched Georgia play this year and isn't just a blind SEC lover, Georgia Bulldog, fanboy will admit, this team isn't anywhere near what we have seen the last 2 or 3 years ago. Are you surprised that Georgia is favored in this game?
Not really, because we've all seen Notre Dame put up some stinkers against high-power SEC teams. And you're 110% agree. This is not a Georgia defense we have seen a pass. So if Georgia can't stop the run, this game could get out of hand really early. The only thing that scares me on Notre Dame's defense, they struggle against quarterbacks that can run. And this Gunnar kid can run around. We saw it when he was in the last time they played. If he can run and if he can run and stuff like that, that could put some spread out Notre Dame's defense does not play well against those type of quarterbacks. I think this total was the best at 44. Loved it at 44. Bet it myself on 44. Asked for a double allowance with the wife when it was at 44. This one will go to 48 because it's the last game of the evening. People are going to be betting. It's now 46 when we're doing this show right now. I can guarantee you tomorrow morning be like 46 at 47. The last game on the board, chasing.
Interesting. You said you loved it, but you didn't say which side that you loved on that total. What is it that makes you think that this is going to be a higher scoring game, given the running proclivities of both offenses, the relative strength of both defenses, two pretty conservative coaches that will more likely want to protect their quarterbacks rather than attack with their quarterbacks? So what is it about this game that has you thinking that there will be a few more points scored?
I think both teams will be able to run the ball, and I think Notre Dame will be able to run the ball. And keep an eye out for the tight ends at Notre Dame. I think they could be open in the middle of the field. I think both teams can score on the run game. I think Georgia can score because I believe Gunnar is going to be running around his legs, and then in the second half, maybe his arm will put some points on the game. Like I said, I'm blown away that this was not open up at 47. If there's the 4 games playing in the college football playoff, this one might be the higher scoring one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that it came in as the lowest total for all the reasons that we talk about. Notre Dame wants to win a grinder. Georgia's just going to run the ball 55 times. I think that's when Georgia is at their best, is when they are just grinding people down like they did in the second half of the SEC championship game against Texas. So I like Georgia a little bit. But I got to ask you, Raphael, we understand the schedule for Notre Dame. They didn't really play anybody this year, but they also demolished pretty much everyone that they played. They're 11-2 against the spread. They have covered 9 straight numbers. Should we just be blindly betting the Irish here? Are we missing something? Are we missing an opportunity with them? Should we just be riding the wave? And before you answer, I want to say this. Going back over the last 15 years, if you look at the teams that win the national championship in college football, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I feel like they end up covering the spread over 80% of their games during that season when they win the national title. So again, are we kind of sleeping on the Irish here?
I think so. I mean, I was really impressed. on how they played USC. USC did not like they had chumps on the field. Their defense was carrying them most of the season. Their offense is the reason why they put up some stinkers. And Notre Dame put up 49 points against a USC defense. I mean, that's their offense is no joke. Their quarterback is not bad. When they run the ball, then the quarterback, his eyes are wide open because when you can establish the run early, that means the middle of the field gets open because the linebackers are moving closer to stop the run. I'm not sleeping on Notre Dame's offense against Georgia because me and you both said this is not a Georgia defense we have seen in years past. Not even close to what we've seen the past couple of years.
All right, changing gears again, going to the Rose Bowl, the marquee game, the best game of the college football playoffs of the 4 so far. We have Ohio State going up against Oregon. By now, you know the storylines, right? This is a rematch from a game played earlier in the season in Oregon. Outson, one of the toughest venues in college football. Ohio State had an opportunity to win that game late, but their quarterback didn't slide early enough. So there's a rematch. It's a revenge game. It's on a neutral field. We can dive into that a little bit. But first, I want to ask you something, Raphael. Do you think that it is an advantage for the 4 teams that have already played a playoff game, okay, gotten that rust out, gotten those nerves out? Do you think that that is an advantage for those 4 teams that played last week to come in and play? Or do you think it's more of an advantage for the 4 teams that were able to rest, prepare, put in some new wrinkles? They are fresh. They don't have to change gears from, if you're Ohio State, okay, we're up for Tennessee. We got to get focused on Tennessee, and now they have to change gears to Oregon. Where do you see the advantage? With the teams that had to play a playoff game already, or with the teams that were resting?
Me and you both agree about NFL bye weeks. So I treat it almost like that in college football. Because let's face it, college football now is AAA baseball type, AAA football. These players, these kids know what they're doing on practice. Okay, we have a week off. And another team that doesn't, it's week 13. I have to wait week 14 or whatever. I don't look at it. The only thing that kind of skates me to Ohio State on that point of view is, boy, did they erase that Michigan loss really quickly to beat an almighty SEC team badly. I mean, it was not even close. I think they just put up another touchdown on the Vols defense. I was really impressed. I think that's why this one will be a 3. This Rose Bowl game will be my 3. It's 2.5 pretty much everywhere else. The betting public loves to bet games and teams. What impressed me last, and we all were impressed with what Ohio State did against Tennessee. That's why they're going to be a 3-point favorite. If you like Oregon, wait, because you can get that better number because you'll probably get +3 before kickoff.
Yeah, Oregon, a little surprising to me, actually. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised. They're undefeated. They're number 1 in the country. But the majority of the tickets in this game, from what I saw earlier today, are coming in on Oregon. And over 75% of the money line bets on this game, which is understandable. You're getting a little plus money value there. But are you surprised that Oregon is taking the majority of the action in this? Based on what you just said, it's the last thing you saw, right? So everybody just saw Ohio State play their best game of the season. You would figure you'd get a wave of Ohio State money, a bunch of people that won with them last week, doubling down on them this week type of thing. Are you surprised that Oregon is actually taking more action in this game?
No, because the 3 biggest bets that I know in this game have been Ohio State money line, and 2 of them were 6-figure bets. So yeah, people probably saw that and want to rush to the window and get a better number on Oregon, a better money line on Oregon. And I think it's going to be like that all the way to kickoff. I think the big action is going to come in Ohio State, and everyone else is looking for quack.
Okay, for some of the people that are watching this video that might be a little more novice bettors or not used to looking for like indicators or something like this, Raphael, you tell me your opinion on this, true or false. It is a massive red flag and a massive indicator that Ohio State, the team that lost the first meeting, that is lower ranked, is the favorite in this game over a team that is the number 1 seed and that is undefeated. You agree with that or not?
No, because we talk about this in college basketball all the time. Just because you have a name on your front jersey and a number next to your team name after what it says in the newspaper or computer does not mean you're the betting favorite or the better team and all that. When it comes to putting a number out and when you're looking at it, you want to know, okay, why did Vegas or why did the odds makers make this a 3-point favorite knowing that the number 1 team is at home and stuff like that? We saw that on Monday night with Detroit Lions on the road with the 49ers. If you kind of look at it, the Lions should have been like a closer to a 7-point favorite, but all the money was coming in on 49ers all morning long. You just have to look at it. Okay, why did the odds makers make this number when the other team is a better seeded or a better record or better this? Why do the odds makers look at that? There's a reason why.
Yeah, my advice to again, novice bettors, less experienced bettors, stuff like that, is if you see a line like this and it doesn't make sense at first, like why is the undefeated number one team? Why are they the underdogs? When you see numbers like this in situations across all sports, two options. Number one, just stay away from the game. If it doesn't make sense to you, if the number is breaking your brain, then maybe just stay away from it. Or bet the other way, bet with the books. That's that's how I feel about Ohio State here. Do you feel like there's anything in the way of matchups, anything that you're looking, any keys that you're looking at, the quarterback matchup, the running game, versus this? Oregon's had success against Ohio State in recent years. Is there anything that you think will be the key to this game?
It's Ohio State quarterback play. If he does the way he did last week against Tennessee, this one's going to be a fun game because Oregon's going to be pumped up. Oregon's been disrespected in the Big Ten since they put the Big Ten patch on their jersey. Well, Oregon can't travel. What are they going to do in cold weather? If you've ever been to Oregon, the weather was not going to affect Oregon no matter where they went in the Big Ten because Oregon's weather is not sunshine and rainbows all the time. They've been felt disrespected all season long being in that conference.
Okay, this is a good point to mention what I probably should have mentioned at the top. That is, go down in the description below, click on that free 60 link that will get you $60 free to be used at Docsports towards any handicapper in any sport for any package that we are offering currently on the site. Also, if you are enjoying this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Docsports YouTube channel is very diverse. It is chock full of interesting information, good, knowledgeable veteran handicappers, and free plays, which I know that you all like and which we will get to at the end of this. So, okay, Raphael, let's move to the NFL. Saturday game, the AFC North is going to be decided. We have Cincinnati. They need to win and get some help to get in the playoffs. They are favored on the road at Pittsburgh. Were you surprised that that number opened up with Cincinnati laying points on the road to the Steelers? Keeping in mind that it's not like the Steelers don't have anything to play for. I know that Baltimore is an 18.5-point favorite at Cleveland, the biggest spread in the NFL this year. But if Baltimore does lose that game, and it's the NFL, we have seen wacky things happen before, especially in rivalry games. Cleveland beat Baltimore earlier this year. If that happens, then Pittsburgh still has something to play for. They can play for the division title. So again, looking at that number with Cincinnati favored on the road, were you surprised by that?
A little bit, but I've been hearing some Steeler players say, hey, yeah, we know who Baltimore has to play with. We know that. But we're actually playing this game to get out of our 3-game losing streak. We don't want to go into the playoffs on a 4-game losing streak. We don't care if Cincinnati's battling for playoff position or if they're in. We could care less. We are thinking about team right now. How could we improve ourselves and how we can head into the playoffs, snapping our 3-game losing streak. That's why I'm a little bit shocked. That was going to be most of a pick game just because what Cincinnati is actually playing for. So getting plus points, I'm very curious to see by Thursday when we release our football plays what the number is. The number still going to be 2? Because I think the Steelers have a lot to play for in this game.
Yeah, I've already seen the numbers start to come down. It opened at 2. I'm seeing 1.5 at probably more than half of the books right now. That's a reverse line movement right there because the majority of the public they're taking the hook, man. They're taking the hook on Cincinnati. Oh, Cincinnati has to win this game and they're favored, so we're going to bet them. This is where I like to remind people that teams that put themselves in must-win situations, this is in any sport, those teams aren't very good. Good teams don't end up in must-win situations. If you end up in a must-win situation, it's because you're a bad team and you're shaky and you're shady and you're not really trustworthy. So you can see the sports books just leading that money right towards the Bengals, and it has been working so far. But, I'm trusting that reverse line movement there. Anything else about this game jump out at you?
It's funny how you say that because if you look at, the Bengals have won 4 straight. But let's look at their wins of those 4 straight. They beat Dallas. They beat the Titans, which the Titans had the worst against the spread record of pretty much all. I think the last 10 years, or it could be more. I don't have that stat in front of me. They beat the Browns. All right, I'll give them credit for beating the Broncos last week, but you needed a lot of stress and a lot of extra time, and you probably shouldn't have won that game. I'll give the Bengals that game, but that other 3 games in that 4-game winning streak were garbage.
Yeah, Sean Payton should have went for 2, and that's not me saying it after the fact because it didn't work out. When they scored the touchdown, Bo Nix turned to him and put up 2 fingers. Yep. And as I was watching that game, I was like, okay, they're going for 2. I like this. That, like, you just completely demoralize that defense. The weak spot of Cincinnati is the defense. I'm always a big believer that if you are the underdog in the road team, or the underdog and or the road team, and you have a chance to win a game like that, you shoot your shot right there. So I agree with you. Cincinnati shouldn't be in the situation, but that's what I mean. They've been a shaky, shady team all year long. Pittsburgh has dominated the series. They've won 3 straight and 4 of the last 5. And I agree with you. I don't think that the Steelers are going to be a pushover on this Saturday. So, all right, another game with playoff implications. We just mentioned Denver. They are 10.5-point favorites at home against Kansas City. Now, I understand that Kansas City is going to rest starters, right? But they're still clearly the best team in the NFL, the deepest team in the NFL. They're not just going to roll over in this game. Is that 10.5 number strike you as a little too thick?
Yeah, it is. I think that's why I picked it, even though when I picked it, we all know Mahomes ain't playing. A lot of big stars aren't playing for Kansas City. But, wow, that's a big number. These guys that are playing are at practice every game. They know the schemes every day. And now they're getting their opportunity to play on a national TV spot against a team that is dying to win for a playoff spot. I just think it's too big of a number right here. I thought it was going to be like 7, maybe 7.5, 8, but wow, double digits. And I think this is going to be a popular teaser bet and money line bet and all this. We might see a better number, but I'm actually looking to play Kansas City if the number gets out wide.
If Cincinnati loses on Saturday, do you think this number would start to come down a little bit? Because yes. I know that like Denver is going to be playing at the same time as Miami. That's the only other team that they have to worry about in this game, right? Is that it? If Cincinnati loses and Miami wins, then Denver can get knocked out. Yeah. But be careful because Denver's motivation level in this game could switch. If Cincinnati loses Saturday, and then let's say Miami starts to get blown out by the Jets, which it's possible the Jets should have beat them down in Miami when they played
and no Tua
2 weeks ago, then we may get in a situation where in the third quarter, fourth quarter, Denver, they start pulling their guys as well. Okay. Interesting stat that I came across also. Kansas City, I did not know this, Raphael. Maybe you did. They are a juggernaut in week 17, week 18 games. They are 7-1 straight up and 6-2 against the spread in their last 8. They are 9-1 straight up in their final regular season game of the year, dating back to 2014, 7-3 against the spread in those 10 games. Sometimes they've had things to play for. Sometimes they've had nothing to play for. But should we put any stock into a trend like that?
Who's going for three Super Bowl wins straight? Isn't Kansas City?
I think I heard of them. Yeah. Yeah, it's too many points. Like I understand that Denver needs that. I understand it's a revenge game, all that stuff. But I just don't know that I'm sleeping on Kansas City completely in this game. There was only one game out of the last 10 years. Okay. I mentioned they only lost one time straight up. That was to the Chargers. And that was a game they were 7-point home underdogs because they had nothing to play for. The Chargers were playing to get into the playoffs. So similar situation. That's it. Other than that, they come to play in this one. 80% of the action coming in on the Broncos. Do you expect that trend to continue through the weekend?
Probably, because once people start looking at, oh my God, no Patrick Mahomes, no Taylor Swift. I mean, I'm going to play Denver. Denver needs this game. So yeah, this one will keep on climbing.
Okay, last game, best game, Minnesota at Detroit. Lions coming off that Monday night win. This is, I mean, you can't call regular season games epic, right? But this is no joke. Two 14-2 teams playing for the number 1 seed in the NFC. This is unbelievable what these two teams have done and just how good the NFC North has been this year. Had to have jumped out at you, Raphael, that Detroit is not the token 3-point home underdog. Did that raise any alarm bells for you?
Yeah, I was pissed because
not home underdog. I'm sorry, the token 3-point home favorite. They're only a 2.5-point favorite. I
was still pissed because I like SKOL Skull. I like Minnesota in this spot. I mean, you know what? We both said 14-2. The NFC. Both of them are 11-4 11-4 or 11-5 against the spread this year. It's just phenomenal on what these two teams, and I love Minnesota. Everyone was betting Green Bay last week. Oh, Green Bay's a better team. Jordan Love's better quarterback. Blah, blah, blah. Green Bay's defense, blah, blah, blah. How do you, if you're Minnesota, A, how did you not bet your team at home? And B, how do you not get Sam Darnold to come back and stay? Give him a 2-year, 3-year deal. You don't have to give him I think he'll take a little bit, not discount, but I think he'll want to stay there. I like Minnesota in this spot. I've been so impressed with them all season long. I'm not fading them now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I really wanted to get that 3. I'm in the Wise Guys contest. They released that number at 3.5 when they sent the numbers out on Monday. I was like, oh my God, like praying that this number is 3.5 later in the week. The majority of the people agree with you and kind of with I as well, though. Should we be a little bit concerned about that? We got almost 70% of the tickets written in this game coming in on the Vikings, 75% of the money line action coming in on the Vikings. Could this be exactly what you talked about? A situation very similar to last week where everybody was on Green Bay and Minnesota came out and slapped them because they're better at home than you think they are, and they're just better than you think they are. Could we be walking into the same trap with the Lions in this game?
We could, but the Lions are coming off a short rest. Amir St. Brown was limping around some of the games, so he's not coming into this one healthy. And the 49ers were able to move the ball against the Lions defense. I think Minnesota will be able to do the same thing.
Yeah, I'm a little worried that Detroit is actually going to max out in this game, win, and then that might actually hurt them because they're leaking oil, right? Like they every week they're losing 2 more starters. Eventually they're just going to run out of road. I think the bye week would be beneficial to them, but I'm afraid that they're going to win this game and peak and just not be able to perform in the playoffs and not be able to punch through and get to that Super Bowl, despite the fact that they've been the second best team, arguably the best team. They have the highest point differential in the NFL at plus 200, and they're obviously in the best division in that. So Kansas City's doing what they're doing, but Detroit's right there with them. I feel like they're not going to have enough energy to make it all the way to the Super Bowl here. So, all right, Raphael, give the people what they want, man. Give them a free play to walk off with.
We talked about this game, and I don't understand this team. I'm not the biggest Patrick Mahomes fan. I still think Tom Brady's the GOAT. Patrick Mahomes is itching closer and closer. Why is Kansas City a 10-point underdog? You said it. What if this outcome could be totally different after Saturday night's game? Grab the better number now, because that number might not be there when the final score of Saturday night's game is pronounced. I love Kansas City in this spot. I'm not saying they're going to win this game. It wouldn't shock me because they're the back-to-back Super Bowl champs. It wouldn't shock me. But getting plus 10 points, Denver's offense does not tell me they're 10-point favorite. I don't care who you're playing. Their defense is really good. Not their offense with a half a rookie year. I mean, Bo Nix, they played all season, so he's not really a rookie. I don't understand this number. I'm taking Kansas City, and I hope the public keeps on betting Denver.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you because for Denver, a win is a win, right? Like that, it doesn't have to be a blowout. A 3-point win, a 7-point win. We get into the fourth quarter and Denver's up 7 and head to the playoffs. And maybe one of those gentleman agreement type of things between Sean Payton and Andy Reid, where they just kind of run things out so nobody gets hurt and Denver takes advantage. I kind of agree with you. All right, my free play, I'm going with Ohio State. As I mentioned, red flag line. I think that they do have the advantage because they did play last week. They're not going to have the home field advantage of playing in Columbus again. But I think it's important when teams get that first playoff win under your belt, because then when you start the next playoff game, maybe not as many nerves, you're not as nervous, not as many butterflies. You can just kind of play a little freer, a little looser. The revenge factor, the fact that Ohio State, in my opinion, just has more talent. Oregon's a great team. They got screwed with the draw. This should have been the national championship game, probably. It would have been a great one. But I think Oregon is just going to be one of those teams left to history of unfortunate draws where they're going to end up finishing 12-1 or 13-1 or whatever they are and not making it to the championship game, because I think Ohio State is just a buzzsaw right now. All right.
And you don't think Chip Kelly wants to beat Oregon to advance in the playoffs?
A little bit. So, all right. He is Raphael Esparza. I am Robert Ferringo. Happy New Year. We will see you next week. Until then, Carpe Diem and good luck.